I'm Wayne Haney, your local licensed insurance counselor with Haney Farm Bureau. Appreciate you tuning in. Today I am starting a five-part series on insurance claims. And part one I call Prevent What You Can. Now, look, I understand you pay good money for insurance, and I often tell my clients that you are definitely allowed to use your insurance. That is what it is there for. But insurance is really designed and works best when we think of it as helping us weather those very catastrophic claims. I lost my entire car because somebody stole it. My entire car has to be replaced because somebody T-boned me and it was destroyed and I was hurt and I'm in the hospital for 4 months because of it. Or my house burnt down, or the tornadoes hit my home and it's leveled and I don't have the means and don't want to have the means to replace that house. I'm completely out of pocket. That's really what insurance was designed to do. The smaller claims, while irritating, $500, $1,000, even $200, $2,500, yeah, that's going to sting financially, but we will survive that and get through that. But it's really those huge claims that we're trying to prevent and or trying to get help with. But what I want to talk about is how we can prevent the smaller claims, which helps keep not just your individual claims lower, but if you keep your individual claims lower and I keep my individual claims lower and our neighbor keeps their individual claims lower, then that whole pool of money that our insurance company has doesn't get tapped as much. It gets preserved so that it's ready to rebuild whole houses and replace whole cars and take care of huge medical bills. And that way we're doing our part in small incremental ways. So here are very quickly 6 ways that we all can help prevent claims in the first place so that we can fix little things before they become big things. Number one, clear and trim trees. I just about every week go by a house where there's a very large tree that's very old and mostly dead. So if it's close to the house, the next big windstorm is going to come along, or the next big storm is going to come along and has a very good possibility of taking that mostly dead tree and putting it on that house. And then that house is suddenly goes from being a really beautiful home to being utterly destroyed. So why don't we prevent that by investing a bit of money in having that tree removed? Or if the limbs are already touching the house, just have them trimmed before the wind picks them up and turns them into um, a weapon against your home. Second is about sump pumps. I've talked in other videos about the danger of water that comes up because through the sump pump crock or through the drain fields. A backup sump pump is crucial. If you're in an area where your sump pump gets used and relied on, it doesn't cost that much to invest in a backup sump pump. And in many cases, there's even a discount that gets put on your policy for having a backup sump pump. But more to the point, we can put in a backup pump so that if something happens and our primary system fails, the backup kicks in and then we don't have that water damage in the first place. And those claims are huge, especially if you have a finished basement. But even if you don't have a finished basement, where do most people store all their goodies and all their out of season stuff? In the basement. Where's your heating plant? It's probably in the basement. Where is your um, hot water tank? It's probably in the basement. And so if there are inches of water that come up in, we could be looking at having to replace all of those things, mostly out of pocket. Third, an automatic generator. This closely relates to the sump pump thing. If the power goes out and maybe your sump pump is working great, but your sump pump has no power, the automatic backup generator kicks in, sump pump works fine. Fourth, caulking and painting. This may seem trivial, but I have seen so many homes with water damage claims because their windows are still made out of wood. And just a little thing about putting a bead of caulk every few years where it belongs around windows so that when these heavy rainstorms come, that water doesn't have a place to go that gets into your home because water rots wood, right? So caulking and painting, especially the wooden parts of houses, is absolutely crucial. Closely related to that one, chimney cleaning and chimney tuck pointing. The tuck pointing is closely related to caulking, right? So if I've seen several homes where the chimney, you can look on the roof and see bits of chimney and bits of mortar that have, they're just over time, this is what they do, they break down and they're falling and they're literally scattered all over the roof. um, we need a mason to come in once every some years and repair that stuff before it becomes a problem, because what happens when mortar is gone from the chimneys? It creates more avenues for that rain water to get inside, and water and inside the home simply don't mix. Uh, Chimney cleaning is distinct. You can have a professional come and do it, or if you, especially if you've got a wood stove or any kind of a fireplace, other than a gas one, of course, but a wood fireplace where you're actually burning wood. You can certainly have a professional come and clean those. That's ideal. I've even seen people use with good effect those inexpensive creosote removing logs from, you know, the local hardware stores and stuff. But doing something to deal with that creosote buildup is huge, because chimney fires are also no bueno when it comes to homes. And then finally, drainage away from buildings. So as we get into that season where we're seeing heavier and heavier rains, and we're apparently living in a world now where these are coming more and more frequently, looking for places around our homes where water is pooling, um, and having that addressed. And so to have a professional come out who can look at this, perhaps regrade parts of the house, explore French drain systems, anything at all that will help take water away from the foundation and move it away from the house. Because like a lot of these other things, water getting into the home, unless it's water from our tap, is not something that we want. So those are 6 things that I beg us all to look at: trees, backup sump pumps, automatic generators, caulking and paint, chimney cleaning and chimney tuck pointing, and drainage away from our buildings. These are huge, relatively small things that we can do in the short term that can help prevent major catastrophic losses. I am Wayne Haney, your local licensed insurance counselor with Haney Farm Bureau. If you have questions or want to talk about your specific situation, please send me a direct message or give me a call. Please be safe.